Hey, we're live. What's up, y'all? How you guys doing? Hope you're having an absolutely amazing Thursday evening. Hope your weeks have been going well, that they've been efficient, that you've been taking care of everything you need to take care of. For those of y'all that have just recently maybe started following us at Pre PT Grind, my name is Joseph. This is Casey. We are the co-founders of Pre PT Grind, and our job is to help you get into PT school without wasting time or money. That is our job. That is what we do. We're both physical therapists, and we absolutely enjoy doing what we do. Part of it is we enjoy the process, but number two, we actually enjoy it when you guys get to your goal of becoming, PT students and, ultimately physical therapists. So tonight we have a topic that a lot of people are gonna want to listen to. So yeah, it's one shot. Now the future is yours. Go! Turning dreams into reality. This is something that I would suggest that you share with a friend. Like I'm being serious, because the question we're answering is, I'm considering not doing PT anymore because of how expensive PT school is. And if you are a student right now that has ever, like, maybe right now you're like, y'all, like, I feel good about like, I'm locked in on PT. I'm not quitting physical therapy. Cool. But if at any point you ever felt like this concern, and obviously for the last like 2 weeks, we've been talking about money. And that's because we have a virtual summit coming up. But one of the biggest things about money is that, like, at some point, most of us, I know I've had this thought. I don't know if you've ever had this thought, Casey, prior to, getting into the profession, but it's like, y'all, is it worth it financially? Like, does this even make sense? Like, does it make sense for me to invest $100,000 or $150,000 or whatever into becoming a physical therapist and then getting the kind of pay that I would get when I ultimately like am a PT, whether that's $70,000 or $75,000, as a new grad or whatever it is, right? Does it make sense? So the question is, I'm considering not doing PT anymore because of how expensive PT school is. Now, my question to you is this: for those of you that are watching us live, or those of you that are watching us on replay, have you ever asked yourself that question? Like, even if it was for a split second, if you have, just like, let us know in the comments. Say I have, just so we can see you. But I'm telling you right now, this is a question that most people have asked, because the cost of physical therapy education, and we'll explain a little bit more. It's actually outside of PT, but the cost of PT school education has gone up. Like, people that went to PT school 20 years ago were not like paying anywhere close to what most students are paying now. And that's the reality. And I think as we look over time, like, students are seeing, they're like, wait a minute, like, over time, this, like, something's changed. Like, why? Like over time, like, we're seeing that, like, school's going up, but like PT pay hasn't like changed that much. Like, what's going on? Like, does this make sense? Like, will I end up regretting my decision? So, Casey, let's dive into it, man. What are your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, let's get into it. So basically what we were saying before we went on live, and you'll elaborate more, is that, of course, it's not just a PT problem, but we're not the only ones who have this. So for example, and I don't know these numbers specifically,
Yeah.
so y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, go Google this, but let's just say, for example, for physicians or dentists, right? Oh man, they're in such a better place than us because they make 150 a year or 130. But their debt is also a lot higher as well.
Hmm.
Like, of course, not all physicians or not all dentists, but a vast majority of them, their school is more expensive and their debt's higher, and they have longer residencies, and they also have fellowships where they're not making that 130 right out of school. They make that 60,000, or they make that 70, or they make that 42 for 4 years out of school after they graduate. Then they go on to make that 150, that 170, that 200. So it's not just us. Yeah, you see that number on Google that they make, but they also have a different kind of debt problem. So wherever you want to go, if you want to stay in healthcare, it's just like you're running from one problem smack into another problem. And the other thing is, like, you don't have, like, we're not forcing you to do PT at all. Like, this is not a video to say, hey, you should definitely do PT because our debt is different, or technically it's a little less, so you should do PT. Like, this isn't what it's about. It's about just to get you thinking a little bit differently about how all of this goes if you really want to do PT. Because I think we just see those numbers and we're like, dang, we'll be making under 100 grand and that's it. But the thing is, other professions have that same problem, unless you're going to go to like trade school or something like that, or you're going to go to community college and learn something else. Like, it's there. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. And I think the other thing is that, okay, this is not just like a PT school problem in the sense of that they dictate the numbers as well. And you'll go into more of this, of course, but like the department chair doesn't set that number. Like, it's not their decision. Like, they can help, they can bring in speakers to handle student loans and all that stuff, but it's not like the PT school. It's not like NYU PT program sets that price. It's NYU University that says, okay, PT school, you're going to cost this much. Nursing school, you're going to cost this much. The same thing at USC or this school or that school. So it's not the PT schools necessarily their choice to charge you that much. It's a bigger, broader problem. And we'll get into more stuff later, but go ahead, wrap on that part.
Yeah, no, like, you hit it right on the money. I want y'all to understand, because I think this is where we get it twisted. I think a lot of times, in case you just started hitting on it, but I think a lot of times, like, when we're thinking about this, like, we go from this point as pre-PTs where we see physical therapy as like this like dream of ours, right? Like, most of you, when you choose physical therapy, you're looking at it, you're like, yo, this is it. Like, I love it. I love working with peds. I love working with athletes. Maybe you love neuro, whatever it is that drew you into physical therapy in the first place. We have that first stage of like, wow, this is beautiful. It's amazing. And then the reality sits in or hits about like this financial aspect. That's where most of us get stuck. And the problem that I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm seeing this even with physical therapists, is that we assume that this is just a PT issue. Like we literally feel like, oh, well, I guess PT schools are just expensive. Let me go do something else. Then you start realizing that, and I'm seeing this with some friends of mine that were considering, being physicians or being something else in the healthcare professions. And I'm like, they have the same issue. Like PT schools are not some isolated thing that started being affected by the increased expense of school. Like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, like, PT school is pricey, but so are all other healthcare programs. And do I like it? Absolutely not. Like, do I wish it was less expensive? Absolutely. Like, y'all already know, like, anything for reduced loans and reduced debt, I'm here for it. But let's just understand that this is a massive thing that's affecting like healthcare education in general, right? So once you start realizing that, then the thought of, oh, maybe I should just be a physician. Maybe I should just, like, that's very short-term thinking if that's not what you're drawn to. Now, if you're going through, if you're a pre-PT and you're like, you know what, like, I kind of chose PT because I was like forced into it. I'm not really vibing with it, but I feel like I'm drawn to being a physician because that's what I'm passionate about. Then yeah, make the switch. Like, PT is not your jam. But if this is what you've fallen in love with, just understand, like, the idea that somehow switching to something like being a physician or being something else immediately fixes that problem is a lie. Like a lot of physicians also struggle financially because of how, like, that disparity financially, like, where like they'll invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into medical school. They will, have their residency or whatever. And by the time they're paying it off, they're like 8 years in, like 8 years after they started medical schools, when they're starting to even like inch at any of their debts. And at that point, like, they're feeling the same way like most PTs feel. Like, it's all the same. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that to give you perspective first, because we have solutions, obviously. Like, we don't just talk to y'all to just present problems. Like, I just want you to understand that first, because once you understand it, then your brain will start to shift to, okay, so what now? like if we're all feeling it, then like, how do we get out of it? Do we just suck it up and just like embrace the suck, or do we like, is there a way out of it? And that's obviously what we're going to talk about. And so brings me to my second point. The second point is I think one of the biggest like things that, you know, especially with this topic, that's important to understand is like, be very careful about who you're having this conversation with. Be very careful about who you're having this conversation about, like debt and loans and all this other stuff. See, okay, here's what I mean by that. What I mean is, a lot of us, like misery loves company, right? So what typically happens is we usually go to other people that don't have their ish together when it comes to figuring out how to navigate this. So what happens is, like, it might be pre-PTs, it might be other physical therapy students that have no idea how they're going to pay off their loans outside of just their average PT salary. It might be physical therapists that are 1 year out of PT school, 3 years out of PT school, 5 years out of PT school, that have not figured it out. And you're talking to them and they're telling you, oh, it's not worth it, or this, that, and the other. So the problem that most of us are making is that we're going to the wrong people to try to find a solution for it. You're going to people that have not figured it out. You're going to people that are like living like a life of misery. Like, they don't know how to be worth more. They don't know how to make more. They don't know how to reduce their debt faster. Like, they're not the guys to talk to. And that's something I need y'all to like absorb and start asking yourself, when I'm having this conversation about debt and money, who am I typically having it with? Like, who are the people? Am I talking to other pre-PTs that don't know? Cool. The more I talk to them, the more I'm going to feel overwhelmed, the more I'm going to feel like it's not possible to navigate through this whole debt situation. The more I'm talking to PT students that don't know how to navigate through it, the more I'm going to feel like it's the most miserable situation to be in. The more I'm talking to physical therapists that have not figured it out, the more I'm going to feel the same. So just ask yourself, who am I talking to? Like, who am I actually listening to? Because I'll tell you this, there's a group of people in our profession that have figured this out. There's a group of people that are PT students that are figuring this out. And they're living, catch this, they're living the dream pre-PT, you know, that dream life that y'all thought of as a PT. And by dream life, I mean like doing what you want to do in the profession, treating the way you want to treat. Like, if you like peds, doing it and not feeling like stressed with other stuff. Like, that's the dream I'm talking about. Like, that super pure, like, initial feeling you had when you fell in love with PT. Like, they're living that. Some of them are 1 year out of PT school. Some of them are in physical therapy school. A few of them are pre-PTs. But they have decided to stop listening to people that don't have the solution or ain't doing ish about it. So the question is, who are you listening to? For those of y'all listening to this prior to August 2nd of 2020, like, for those of y'all watching this live or listening to this on replay, if you're listening to this prior to August 2nd, that's why we're doing our halfway to debt-free summit. We're putting you with people who are actually doing it, because for the first time as pre-PTs, I mean, listen, like, everyone's going to, like, a decade from now, a century from now, people are always going to be complaining about money. It's just what people do. But people usually complain about things they don't know the solution to. That's just how it goes, right? So if we're just talking to each other and complaining to each other, ain't nobody going to fix anything. It don't matter what profession you're in. So you have to make the decision. Am I going to start listening? Where can I find people that are figuring this out? And start listening to them. Start listening to them, because they're telling you what they have actually done or what they're currently doing to not be in that state of misery or whatever you want to call it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And then the last thing is, you guys have to start understanding that, I mean, it's 2020 and 2020 has been, a crazy year, but you have to start thinking like outside of this average bubble, right? A lot of us as pre-PTs come into this profession, or come into any profession, I mean, whatever, like, thinking that I'm going to go get my education, get my degree, and I'm just going to do the job. Like, so maybe you thought, you know what, I'm going to get into, physical therapy school and then be a physical therapist, and I'll just kind of do my thing until I retire, just kind of coast. But you have to start understanding, like as human beings, we were never wired to function that way. Like, do y'all remember when you were transitioning from kindergarten to first grade? Do y'all remember like how amazing that transition felt? Like that growth felt, right? It was like, whoa, I'm going to first grade. It was crazy. You know, getting new shoes, new outfit, all that stuff, whatever. Cool. Like, do y'all remember going from middle school, like, sorry, from elementary to middle school? It's like, oh shoot, I'm a fifth grader. I'm big now, going to sixth grade. Do y'all remember going to high school? Like that transition was the craziest thing ever. Like in high school, y'all probably felt you were on top of the world. Like high school is the craziest thing ever. Cool. And then going from high school to college. Maybe some of y'all are watching us and you're in high school. So maybe when you do get to college, and maybe some of y'all are in college or have finished college, but that transition was amazing because you have been designed as a human being. You have been designed to always grow, to always level up. And the problem is most people's careers die because they go into physical therapy or any other healthcare profession thinking that once they get there, all they got to do is just get there and then they'll plateau. That's why they don't learn any new skills. Like, yes, they do their continuing education, but that's why they don't learn how to continue leveling up their career. The people that are crushing it have decided not to be average. And that's why they don't get paid like they're average. And these are not people that are like 20 years in the profession, like, people might have told you. These are people that are 3 years out, 2 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out. And they've just figured out some key principles that we're going to obviously be teaching y'all. That's why we're talking about it. But you just have to make the decision for yourself. There's a clear line in the sand. Am I going to be on the side that's just going to complain, see myself as a victim of schools, inflation, and prices and all that stuff, which sucks, yes, but it ain't going to change for a while. Like, right? But I don't really see it changing ever. Like, it's just until something happens drastically, like, I really don't see it shifting. But like, you can either be on that side and make the decision. Just understand, if you're listening to me right now, you are now from this point on making a decision as to which side you want to be on. You're either going to be on the side of being passive, on the side of being complacent, complaining, feeling like you're stuck and there's no solution when we're clearly telling you there is. Or you could be on the other side of saying, you know what, I want to start looking at things differently from everybody else. All the folk that are complaining, I want to start separating myself from how they perceive this seemingly impossible situation of student loan debt or whatever. And I want to start putting myself around people that are actually solving it for themselves. I want to start asking them more, like, what are you doing differently? I want to start like taking responsibility for actually acting on it and saying, whoa, if that's working for you, it must work for me too. And actually doing something about it. And that is the way that you're going to make PT worth it. Funny enough, those are the people that still end up enjoying whatever they do. They're the ones that create time for themselves. Some of them are business owners, some of them are not. Some of them travel, all the things that y'all have ever dreamed about. Y'all, when you were like, oh yeah, I want to travel to other countries and help people, avoid surgery. All that is, they're the ones living it. But it's a choice. It's a beautiful choice, but it's a choice nonetheless. Now, if you choose the side of like, I want to take control, well, we're inviting you to join us for the Halfway to Debt Free Summit. Go to halfway-to-debt-free.com. Go in there, lock your seat. I think right now we have like well over 100 students already registered for it. Like, be there. We have one day. We're actually bringing some of those people to speak to you directly, to share with you what they're doing differently. And that's the only way to really navigate through it. Y'all can complain all day. I'm telling you, complainers are always going to be there, but complainers don't create solutions. So pick which side you want to be on. Casey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off that because when you thought of PT, you thought of having your own career, right? You didn't think of somebody else dictating your career, whether that's a hospital system, whether that's an orthopedic outpatient system, whether that's somebody in a private practice or a travel agency. You didn't think about none of that. You thought about you. So I want you to be able to take your career into your own hands so you can make as much or as little as you want. I don't want you to entirely leave it up to someone else based on how much they want to pay you, because if you do that, they'll end up paying you whatever they want. Now, of course, if you want a part-time job or a full, it doesn't matter. But just think about this. If you leave your career entirely up to someone else and what they decide for you, you're going to get whatever they want to pay you. That's it. That's it. And I think we have this dream of becoming physical therapists, yes, but once we get to that other side and we pass our boards and we take our first job and all that stuff, it's like, we're just like, all right, here's my career. Give me whatever you have for it. Give me $75,000 for it. Give me $82,000 for it. Give me $120,000 for it. I worked my butt off as a pre-PT, a PT student, and a new grad. Man, I spent all those years trying to get here. Now, here it is. Here's my career. Now you dictate it for me. That's what it feels like. I mean, just because I've been through all of it, you probably don't realize that now as pre-PTs, but that's what it kind of feels like. And when I see it in other people as well, that's what it feels like. It's like, all right, I just gave it up to somebody else, and now this company tells me how much I can make, and now this agency tells me how much. Like, no, this is your career. What happened? What happened here? This is your career. And I think we forget, or we don't even think about, like, how good we are or how smart we are or how great we are, to the fact that we understand that, hey, we can actually be in charge of our career and we can actually do whatever we want, whether it's our own thing, whether it's full-time at a company, whatever it is, but we can be in charge of our own career because we're good enough, we're skilled enough, we're smart enough, we're clinically astute enough, we got enough street smarts and clinical knowledge to do this, to be in charge of our career. So I think we forget that as well. Like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough to do this on my own, or I don't think I'm good enough to have a side hustle and a part-time job, or I'm not good enough to try this, to be in charge of my own career. But no, you're smart enough. You got through all that pre-PT stuff, remember? You're smart enough. You got through PT school. You're good enough. You passed the board exam, remember? So I think we forget that as well. And that's why we don't think we can be in charge of our career. So I don't want that to happen to you guys. I don't want you to get to the end after everything you guys do and say, oh, I made it now. Here's my career. Give me whatever you think it's worth, not what I think it's worth. And then when they give us whatever they think it's worth, then we complain about us being in this massive debt thing and this bubble and all that stuff, which is true. We're in it. But at the same time, we're not in charge of how we're in it. So we're like, oh man, there it is. Give me whatever you have for it. And now you tell me how much I can make. You tell me what I can do. You tell me this. But no, it's our license. We're just leasing it to them. Like, I'm just being literal. Like, you know this. Joseph knows that. All the PTs know that. It's my license number. It's your license number. We're saying, all right, company X, all right, hospital, all right, agency, here's my license number, and you can bill on my behalf and you pay me. But we can do whatever we want. We worked for our license number. We worked for our degree. So you can do whatever you want. Is it going to be difficult at times? Yes, of course. Is it going to be a struggle at times? Yes, of course. Is it going to be amazing and exciting at times? Yes. All of that, yes. But it's your career. So I want you to keep that in mind. And if you want to keep that, if you want to hold that in your mind and you want to be like, okay, let me make sure I have the steps necessary now, or I have the ideas in my head now to do that, debt-free, halfwaytodebtfree.com, www.halfwaytodebtfree.com. We'll see you there, and let's make sure we get this started so that once you get to the end of your pre-PT, SPT journey and you're a new grad now, you can dictate your career. You can do what you want to do, and you can be in charge of however much you want to make, however little you want to make, however much or as little that you want to work, whatever you want to do. We want to make sure that you're in charge of what you're doing. So let's make sure we're all there. www.halfwaytodebtfree.com. Is there still a code?
Yeah, guys, if you want the 50% coupon code, it ends on Sunday. Type in 50 capital D capital F. Y'all, like the full thing is $47, which is extremely inexpensive for what y'all are getting in return. So stop wasting time, just go do it. and then put in 50 capital D capital F to get 50% off. So that's like $23. So just go do that right now. Lock yourself in. We will see you there. Put yourself around the people that are already figuring it out. Stop putting yourself around people that are complaining and don't know ish about what they're doing, because all complainers do is just create more complaining. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't like living like that. So y'all choose. Line's been drawn in the sand. Hope that was helpful. if this has been helpful, tag a friend. And before we hop off, if everything we said tonight made sense, can y'all just like say in the comments for us, like, makes sense? Just like, we just want to know that obviously it makes sense to us because we communicated it, but we want to make sure that everything that we said makes sense. If y'all just showed up right now, go watch the replay. But just like we just want to make sure that it actually went in and it like you absorbed it and you're able to say, wow, like this actually started to shift how I look at this whole topic, because it's not doom and gloom like a lot of people would have you believe and think. Like, it really isn't. PT is beautiful. Healthcare is beautiful. Just as long as you choose the career that you feel called to, there are always solutions to handle the financial aspect of it. Just understand that. If you can understand that, then you'll ask different questions, you'll talk to different people, and you'll stop staying in that cycle of just complaining and all that stuff. So that's it. We're about to go on Instagram and talk about this. Y'all have a blessed one. Much love. Have a good one.